factoring by grouping. We use this method normally when there are 4 terms. We will try grouping. And we notice that there is no GCF in the entire problem. So we're going to go ahead and look at groups, and we'll just split it in order first and see if that works. And then we will just look at half of the problem at a time. So in this first group, we will see if there is a GCF. There is a 3 and also an A that's common, so we can take those out. You need one set of parentheses, and you want what you multiply by to get back there. So for our first term, we have 3A. We're missing an X. For the second term, we have the 3 and an A, but we'd like to get a 12A, so we would have to multiply by 4. Just divide if you get stuck on the numbers. Right? Then we'll leave that group and look at the other group. And we look to see if there's a GCF. There is a 2 and a B. We're going to pull it out of those 2 terms. That will leave X plus 4. Now we look at the whole problem, and what we hope happened is that we came up with a common binomial, which we did. So now that will be our GCF. And to get back just to the line above, in the first term, here's our X plus 4, so we're missing 3A. In the second term, here's our X plus 4, so we're missing plus 2B. For our next problem, we do have 4 terms, so we'll try to factor by grouping. And we'll just split it up. We'll try to just go ahead and split in order and see if that works. In our first group, we look for a GCF. So we can take no number, but we can take a variable. So we can take a y. That leaves 3x plus 5. In the second group, we can take a 2. And 2 into 6 will go 3 times. And 2 into 10 will go 5. Then we look back and we hope we have a common binomial, which we do. So that is our GCF. We're going to pull it out. To get back to the line above, for the first term we have the 3x plus 5. We're missing the y. For the second term we have the 3x plus 5. We're missing the plus 2. For our next problem, we'll go ahead and break into groups because we have 4 terms. In the first group, we have an A that is common, so we'll take it out, and that leaves us X plus Y. On the second group, you have a clue that you need to take out a -1 because the first term of that group is negative, and that will make your signs match then. So I'm going to pull out a negative, and I can also take a B, so I don't have to write a 1. I can just take a -B. Right? To get back there for the first term of that group, I'm missing an X. For the second term, be careful. You pull this minus to the outside, so you are missing a plus Y. I always double check if I take a negative out. Just multiply it back. So this will be negative BX, which is good, and it will be negative B times Y, which is good. So now we'll look at our whole problem and hope we have a common binomial, which we do. The X plus Y is common. That is our GCF. We'll take it out. To get back to that line, we are missing the A from the first term and the minus B from the second term. For our next problem, we do have 4 terms, so we will try grouping. In our first group, we have a GCF. We can take a 4 and an A. To get back to that group, we're missing a G minus 2. When we look at the next group, we notice, well, there is no GCF in there. If you look closely, it actually already matches this binomial. So we could take a 1 out to make it look like the other problems, or we could just write it as G minus 2 since they match. And we have our common binomial, so we'll take that out. To get back to the line above, for the first term, we're missing 4a. For the second term, you have to write something. You have the g minus 2, so you would have to multiply by a 1 to get back there. For next problem, we have 4 terms, so we will try to factor by grouping. So we'll make 2 groups. In the first group, we can take a 5 and an a. To get back there, we're missing a plus 5 into 30 will go 6 n. When we look at the next group, we almost have our binomial, but the signs are wrong. Your other clue is because it starts off with a negative, you're going to need to take a negative out of there. So we'll take a negative, and since there's nothing else common, we'll just go ahead and take it as a -1. It would have also been okay just to put the negative. Right, to get back there, we're missing a. For the second term, be careful you pull the negative to the outside. So you're missing plus 6n. Let's double check that. So this would be -a minus 6n. So what we did is okay. We did get the common binomial. So that is now our GCF, a plus 6n. To get back to the line above, we're missing 5a minus 1. For our next problem, it is 4 terms, so we're going to try grouping. When we look at this problem, if we make our groups in order like we've been doing, the problem is there's nothing in common in the first term. So we're going to be stuck. There's nothing in common in the second term. So this is not going to work. What we can do is rearrange it, put the terms that have something alike beside each other. So I'm going to rewrite it, and I'm going to group 7x plus xy minus 3y minus 21 and try to group it that way. So make our groups. In our first group, we have x that's common, and that leaves 7 plus y. In the second group, it starts off with negative, so we'll choose a negative, and we'll choose a 3. So we'll take out a -3. That's going to leave us a y. Be careful here, you've pulled the negative to the outside. Will be a plus 7. Let's double check that. So this will be minus 3y minus 21. So what we did is okay. Now we have to look close here. We actually do have a common binomial. It is okay for the order to be switched when it's addition. So 7 plus y is the same as y plus 7. You can use either order. So I'm just going to take out the one that looks in order. So I'm going to say y plus 7 is my GCF. And to get back there, I'm missing x minus 3. If in doubt, you can always do a FOIL to check to get back to your original. This next problem is another one that if we tried to group in order, there is no common factor in there and no common factor over here. So it's not going to work. So I'm going to rearrange the order, and I'm going to put the VY in with the first term. To make a group, and I'll move the 4UV over here. To make my second group. Right, now I'll do a GCF. And the only thing I have common in this first group is a y. So I can take a y. It leaves 5x plus v. In the second group, I can take a 4 and a u. And it leaves v plus 4 into 20 will go 5 and an x. Right, we'll look closely. These do have a common binomial. They're just turned around, but it's addition, so it doesn't matter. We could use either one of those for our GCF. So I will use the 5x plus v, and then we'll pick up the missing terms, y plus 4u. For this last problem, I started off just with the order that's there because there is something common. And I tried to take a GCF, so there is a 3 and a y. And that leaves x plus 2. But when I look at the second group, even taking out the negative, that's not going to make it match x plus 2. So this one is not going to work. So I did a different grouping and I moved the x over. And tried. And in this group, I could take an x. It leaves 3y minus 1. That is not going to give us a 6y minus 1, and there's no GCF in there. So this one doesn't work. I'm going to say this one is prime. I tried to regroup it, but that did not work. Tried to work it in order. That did not work. So I'm going to say it's prime.